Welcome to the August 21, 2023 regular business board meeting of the Lower Merion Board of School Directors. This meeting is being live streamed and video recorded with sound for public broadcast. All participants joining via the webinar will need to use the chat feature, which will be enabled during audience recognition. If you are attending this meeting in person, as permitted by the Sunshine Act. If you're attending this meeting in person, you should be aware that other attendees may be recording this meeting as permitted by the Sunshine Act. This means, however, that any remarks you make, even those made at your seat, may be being recorded by other members of the public during the meeting. The board believes it's in its best interest and the best interest of the students of the district to hear comments from district residents. An opportunity will be given later in the meeting for public comment, both in person and through the chat feature, which will be read by our solicitor. At a previous meeting, there was unfortunately a great deal of audience members shouting from their seats and other disruptive comments while other individuals were engaged in public participation. And at other points in the meeting, we ask that you not do that. We do want to be role models for our students with appropriate civility. The board strives to be respectful to all individuals making public comment and does not wish to limit any taxpayer resident's right to free expression while making their public comment during the public comment period. So we are going to start our meeting this evening with an announcement from Mr. Mooring.
Good evening. Just wanted to take a moment to, acknowledge how grateful I am for the last 3.5 years of service to the board and to Lower Merion. But as of the end of end of August, I will be moving out of the district, so I will be vacating my seat. And I know there will be steps in the process to fill that.
And before we get to the steps, I just want to take a moment and thank Mr. Mooring for his service. He's been a great asset to our community and to our board, and thank him especially for the work that he did starting in the summer of 2020, really spearheading our at the time ad hoc committee, but committee on equity and anti-racism. He was an integral part of that, and I want to thank you for all of your work in that area, especially you.
So the board has 30 days to fill the vacancy. So in the coming days, Ms. Buckman and I will be sharing information with the community about the process that the board will use to fill the seat.
Thank you. And also, Dr. Yanni, just thank you for your first official school board meeting. So we are thrilled to have you here at the helm. I also want to take a moment at the beginning of the meeting to talk about the moment of integration in the Lower Merion School District. Nearly 60 years ago, on August 26th, 1963, the Lower Merion Board of School Directors voted to close the Ardmore Avenue School. In so doing, it marked the most significant civil rights event in school district history. The moment of integration happened during one of the most pivotal eras in American history, days after Dr. King's Dream speech, days before the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, and approximately 2 months before the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The NAACP argued that the education of the Ardmore Avenue School was indeed separate but unequal, and that the school must close. The events surrounding the moment of integration were similar in effect to those happening at the same time during the height of the civil rights movement throughout the United States. The moment of integration affected virtually all aspects of the school community, that is, students, both Black and white from the closed school and the integrated schools, the teachers, bus drivers, school board, parents, and others. It is a story of courage and acceptance. Tonight, we welcome members of the class of 1970 who were just 11 years old at the time, namely Leslie Poole Melman, the vice president of the class of 1970, Michael Antonopoulos, the star athlete, and Wendell F. Holland, class president and the first person to graduate from Lower Merion High School as a result of the closure. We are indeed honored to welcome you back home to Lower Merion, and we admire your courage.
I'm going to read a proclamation into the record. Some of this is similar to what Mrs. Klein just read, but there's some additional information at the end. Whereas nearly 60 years ago, on August 26, 1963, the Lower Merion Board of School Directors voted to close the Ardmore Avenue School, marking the most significant civil rights event in the Lower Merion School District history. And whereas the moment of integration happened during one of the most pivotal eras in American history, days after Dr. King's dream speech, days before the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, and approximately 2 months before the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. And whereas the NAACP argued that the education at the Ardmore Avenue School was indeed separate but unequal, and that the school must close. And whereas the events surrounding the moment of integration were similar in effect to those happening at the same time during the height of the civil rights movement throughout the United States. And whereas in final deliberations at a packed auditorium at Ardmore Junior High School on August 26, 1963. The Lower Merion Board of School Directors decided to close the Ardmore Avenue School and bus its 223 students to 4 other elementary schools in the district. And whereas the moment of integration, 60th anniversary observance concentrated on the primary events occurring on and after September 5th, 1963, the first day of school under the desegregation plan for the district. And whereas because the moment of integration affected virtually all members of the community, students, both black and white, from the closed school and the newly integrated schools, teachers, bus drivers, school board, parents, and others, it is a story of courage, acceptance, and profound learning. And whereas those who were affected by this large-scale social experiment, one of the first in an ongoing local and national struggle to deal with these issues, are in a unique position to recount the events, reflect on their outcome, and assess their impact. Now be it resolved that the Lower Merion Board of School Directors finds it fitting and proper to honor the legacy of desegregation and the moment of integration 60th anniversary observance and the lessons learned from both to accord them in their rightful place in district history and forever be guided by their lessons.
Thank you, Dr. Yanni. As we move on this evening, I just want to note formally that Dr. Sautner and Ms. Robinson are joining us via telephone, via the cloud, so that they are also part of our meeting this evening. And next on our agenda are committee meeting reports. We just have one from the Facilities and Purchasing Committee, and Mr. Lee will read that out.
Thank you. I was unable to attend this meeting, so I'm reading Ms. Schaffmeister's notes, who is the co-chair of the committee. So these are the notes from the Thursday, August 17th, 2023 Facilities and Purchasing Committee meeting. The following items were discussed by the committee and recommended for approval by the full board at today's regular business meeting. We recommend approval the list of district bills. We reviewed the following items in the purchasing report and recommended for approval: $20,849.16 to I2 Security Solutions to renew door access control and camera licenses district-wide, $31,081 to Starlight for theater wireless upgrades at Black Rock Middle School to fix wireless dead spots and increase microphone inputs. Pricing was under CoStar's 034E23211. $33.76 purchase price per carton of 92 brightness 20-pound paper to WB Mason under Montgomery County Intermediate Unit Cooperative Purchasing. Estimated 3,200 cartons for 23-24 school year to participate in this cooperative purchasing bid. We reviewed the following district contracts and recommend for approval. Student services agreements, one with Chad's Ford Alternicare, renewal through August 2024. They provide licensed nurses and LPNs and personal care assistants to provide varied types of professional and paraprofessional health services to students. On an as-needed basis, RNs at $70 per hour, LPNs at $60 per hour, PCAs at $36 per hour. Amy Barnett, an independent contractor, renewal through July 24. Experienced special education teacher and Wilson Level 2 instructor, providing literacy consultation, Wilson training services, and professional development. This is for Tier 3 supports. And then this will be as needed basis, $50 per hour with a not to exceed amount of $15,000. This is a reduction from prior year expenditures. Educational services agreements, one with Curriculum Associates, renewal through June 2024 for purchase of iReady Learning Assessment and Personalized Instruction, reading licenses, and iReady Learning Teacher Toolbox. This is a Tier 2 resource for math and newly used for literacy. It's total not to exceed amount of $33,515. Contract with Common Lit School, renewal through July 24, that provides a library of free supplemental lessons and quizzes, as well as resources for full digital literacy dashboard, on-demand professional development portal, training webinar, and rostering via Clever. Not to exceed amount of $15,250. Edmentum Study Island, renewal through August 2024. Elementary teachers and students provides an online resource, Study Island, to be used in school and from home to prepare for PSSA reading testing. Total not to exceed $12,804.72. Learning A to Z renewal through October 2024. This is a renewal of readingatoz.com, which allows teachers to download instructional level text to supplement core curriculum, not to exceed amount of $42,066.09. TCI, this is a renewal through July 2024, provides online K-12 social studies and science curriculum resources. Total not to exceed $24,345. We also recommend for approval $17,500 for a boathouse license agreement with Villanova University to allow the Harriton crew to use the boathouse through the 23-24 school year. Villanova purchased the site that was previously used by the Harriton crew, and they're allowing the Harriton crew team to continue to use that boathouse. We reviewed and recommended for approval the following contracts for transportation of students. Posted agreements for approval with Assist Services LLC, First Student Inc., and Everdriven. Each vendor will assist out-of-district special needs sports and activity runs on an as-needed basis. Rates agreed upon in the schedule of each of the agreements. We also posted a list of approved contracted drivers and aides, including 360 drivers and 152 aides from the following contracted vendors: Assist Services, Atlas, Balgo, Everdriven, Metz, Philly Transportation, Sarah Car Care, and Werner Coach. All drivers have been cleared and met compliance requirements. Drivers for Kraft, SEG, and Superior will appear at a future meeting. We reviewed and recommend for approval the following for information systems: iBoss, renewal quote for through August of 2024 of web filtering software and technical support to maintain compliance with the Children's Internet Protection Act for $84,275.77. Netrix Corporation quote for renewal through August of 24 for software used to collect records of activity on district-owned servers running Windows for $31,348.67. E-Plus, an amendment to the statement of work approved in May of 2023 at the board meeting for an additional $65,000 subject to solicitor review. E-Plus will perform a 4-year refresh of administrator and support staff computers. It's coming due. Provide additional IT staff to cover high-volume help desk requests needed at the start of the year, and then provide 2 desktop technicians to assist with following tasks for a 3-month period. Collect existing Windows 10 computers from administrators and support staff, deploy Windows 11 computers to administration and support staff, and recycle the Windows 10 computers and other computer and electronic devices. Springhouse Education and Consulting Services Statement of Work Agreement will provide Windows 11 and M365, Microsoft 365 training for administration, support staff, and other users being issued Windows 11 computers for $8,960. This is subject to solicitor review. We reviewed and recommended for approval the following for facilities: Aardvark Pest Control Service Agreement renewal through June of 2026 to provide district-wide pest control services at an annual rate of $12,048. Integrated security systems, this is the Alertus system. This is an emergency notification system with panic buttons located in all schools. It's a renewal through August of 2024 for $34,992. Agreement with Montgomery County Planning Commission to perform the annual enrollment study in the fall of 2023 for $7,166. The full cost of the services is $9,155. However, the district is only required to pay 75% based on a 25% subsidy from the county. There'll be two sets of analysis, one with half-day kindergarten and the other with the expected move to full-day kindergarten to show both sets of numbers. Gilbert Architects LLC, this is a second amendment to the master agreement for professional services. Gilbert was recently sold and continues their contractual relationship under the new name Gilbert Architects LLC. The previous name was Gilbert Architects Inc. Hourly rate sheet effective January 2022 was replaced with new rates effective January 1, 2023. The principal is the only rate change from $225 to $235 per hour. Change orders for Black Rock Middle School, $4,873.77. It's an increase to IMC for exterior signage modifications. $11,481.31 increase to Vision for additional costs for the science room sink changes and resolution of Vision claims for costs incurred due to construction delay. $2,524.64. This is an increase to Anchor for fire protection construction for the additional sprinkler branch lines in Area C, room 2092. A credit of $36,700 from JBM for unused contract allowances. $173,951.84. This is an increase to JBM for resolution of JBM's claim of costs incurred due to the extension of time and schedule impacts, which is a significantly reduced negotiation of their original claim. A credit of $16,937.30 for Borough for theater rental equipment use and microphones that were needed a shorter period than expected. An update on Black Rock Middle School. Track surfacing and lining is completed for the start of school. There were new acid-resistant sinks installed in the science room. Continued integration of lighting control systems in the Siemens building automation system, and punch list work is ongoing inside and outside. Total project cost to date. Total amount of previously approved change orders in the construction project is $5,101,082. The change orders reviewed at this meeting would add $139,194 net dollars for a total change order cost of $5,240,276. 90% of these change orders result from four main causes. 42% is additional work related to soil excavation and site preparation. 21% omissions or errors made by subconsultants. 17% are omissions or errors made by the architectural firm. 10% are requests made by the district. Claims remain under dispute with IMC, JBM, and Vision Mechanical, with IMC. JBM and Vision Mechanical claims have been resolved, previously mentioned in the change orders. Including all disputed claims, the total project cost is $105,933,925, which is higher than the projected cost at the time of contract, but less than the original construction estimate, which was $114,062,616. During the meeting, there were several questions from the community. There was a question about the status of the Black Rock Middle School fields, where there was confirmation that negotiations continue, and the district will make sure that updates go to the community. Dr. Yanni mentioned that he has plans to create a student advisory team. There was a question about the alternatives to Oakwell considering environmental effects and impact on wetlands. There was confirmation that the wetlands are protected and was never part of the development. And a lot of work is being done to maximize the existing field space. Does pest management include spraying? And concerned about the impact. I guess the conversation eventually led to a discussion about insect nests, and whether or not they're going to be 15 feet high. And the Lower Merion Little League president spoke and reminded that it continues to grow every year and would like to deepen collaboration with the district to increase fields in the district to meet the needs for baseball and softball to serve the students and the community. The next Facilities and Purchasing Committee meeting will be on September 14th at 8:30 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. As I mentioned earlier, this is the only committee report that we have today because we're still on summer break for the rest of the committees, but starting in September, we'll be on the full schedule of committee meetings as well. And at this time, we are ready for audience recognition. And we will hear public comment. If you would like to speak at tonight's meeting and have not yet signed up with Ms. LaPera, please do so now. I think there's a sign-up sheet in the back over there. For those of you joining us via the webinar, the chat feature will now be open and you'll see a 10-minute timer appear on your screen. You can submit your comments and or questions via the chat feature. For both the chat and in person, please be sure to begin with your full name and where you reside within the district in order for your comments to be shared. Ms. LaPera, if we can start with the in-person comments, please.
We have Marion Cohen, then Ann Earhart, and Sandra Shukring.
Do I just go here? Yep, okay. My name is Marion Cohen, and I'm a student. My name is Marion Cohen, I live in Marion Station, and I'm a rising senior at the Baldwin School. I'm here to support the Grow Oakwell movement and raise concern about how important it is that you take the right steps for our community as a whole, not just what may be the easiest to do for the student athletes at Black Rock Middle School. About a year ago, on my drive home from school, I noticed bright red lawn signs that decorated Montgomery Avenue, all saying the two same bolded words, Save Oakwell. I went home, looked up those two words, and in doing so, opened a Pandora's box I have been unable to close since. I remember bringing up Oakwell at my school lunch table one day in November and was met with blank stares from my friends. They had never heard of Oakwell before. I told them of the property's enchanting history I saw with my own eyes from when I visited Oakwell. The early women's horticultural school, its war gardens providing food for the neighborhood during World War I, the prestigious architects that designed multiple structures, as well as the plethora of wildlife it was home to. They were hooked. That's the power of Oakwell. Within 5 minutes of explaining its remarkable significance and role in our community, you instantly form a desire to save it once you learn it is in jeopardy of being demolished. I wrote article after article for my school newspaper about Oakwell, took cuts out of my own school day to participate in the Fridays for Change protests at Lower Merion, and created a podcast about Oakwell that received national attention and is now published on the New York Times' website. The reason why I did all this, and why I continue to do this, is because I understand the value and the possibilities of preserving this estate and its lands. The thing about Lower Merion is that at every school in our township, students have an undeniable hunger for learning and are excited to be part of creating new ways to learn. We want to learn so badly that Oakwell student activists developed a proposal for how the property can be reused by the schools in our township as a place for interdisciplinary learning, which I heavily encourage you all to revisit. They brought this proposal to you in November, but that was 9 months ago. They have spoken to you at meeting after meeting, students at Black Rock Middle School, students at Lower Merion, students at Harridan. And now, after attending multiple township meetings where I listened, I now feel compelled to speak up. I want you to know that this is an issue that goes beyond the students at public schools who are directly impacted by the positive potential use of this site. I attend a private school in Lower Merion. My parents pay real estate taxes that fund our public schools, and I care. I care because Oakwell is part of my community. It is part of my township's history, a history I, along with so many other private schools from Shipley, Haverford, and Friend Central, care to see brought to light and put to good use for our township. Students from all ages and schools in our township want to make sure the history of Oakwell continues to be written, shared, and experienced. You have the power to make this happen. Please listen to what the youngest voices in our community have said time and time again. Grow Oakwell. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cohen.
Ann Earhart, Sandra Shukring, and then Julian Brightman.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for hearing us, and welcome, Dr. Yanni. I hope you have a long and wonderful career here. Obviously, I want to preserve Oakville. There are so many aspects of this, and thank you for covering a lot of them, but there are many more. Humanity is racing toward an almost unimaginable catastrophe and dragging much of the rest of the living world with us. It's real. It's happening. Nobody knows exactly when, all of that, but it's happening. And I approach this by thinking, who am I to decide that this is bigger than me? I don't have any power over this. Nobody will listen to me. I'm just one person. I don't need to change anything because what difference will it make? Or it's too hard because I've been doing things a certain way for the past 70 years. But you know what? I just can't. I just can't take that approach. I can't put my head in the sand. So I'm doing what I can personally, changing things that I've been doing, well, maybe not all 70 years, but a lot of years, and doing them new ways and discovering that it's actually not that hard. I'm advocating at every level I can. I'm on the board of directors of my little community, and I'm advocating for sensible changes that would lessen our carbon footprint as a community. I'm advocating with the township. I'm advocating with my state representatives and my federal representatives. I invite you to consider what you, from your position, can do. There need to be changes in the way, thank you, there need to be changes in the way we do things, and we can make them if we put our minds to it and we cooperate with each other. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, I missed that we have another student here. Sam, if you want to come up after, yeah. Okay.
My name is Sandra Shakroon, and I live in Penn Valley. I've been a resident of Lower Merion for 33 years. My children are graduates of Lower Merion School District. This is my third presentation to the board concerning Oakwood. I would like to make a few key points. First, the school board has used the excuse that all students must be treated fairly. Athletes need the same opportunities as those doing theater, art, and other activities. No one disputes this. The question is where the playing fields should be located and how the students are to access them, since busing is a significant expense. The board continues to maintain that no other alternatives could be found, but this has been disproved. Sean McMurtry has submitted a persuasive list of viable alternatives. Topping the list is a property right near the school where the owner is prepared to make the necessary land available. Second, after a groundswell of opposition arose, the board offered a compromise. Instead of destroying all of Oakville, only a part would be demolished. This is similar to King Solomon and the baby. It's a compromise, but the baby doesn't survive. Oakville is a cohesive property that must stay intact. Third, many students have come before the board to plead for Oakville to be turned into an environmental and historical center, and they have demonstrated its value by doing in-depth studies of the site with their teachers. Student athletes have explained how sports can be done without Oakville's demolition. If they can figure this out, so can the board. Fourth, environmental experts have testified that cutting down trees, even in just a compromise area, will create runoff onto Montgomery Avenue because Oakville is an important watershed. What budget will cover future expenses when this happens every time there's a bad storm? Fifth, Oakville's buildings have stories to tell that must be honored. In 2018, the board made a decision which must now be reversed. If anything other than preservation at Oakville is done, the entire site, it will be a legacy of lasting shame for Lower Merion and a costly catastrophe for the trees, animals, plants, and buildings there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sam Donagi. I am a junior at Lower Merion High School, and I live in Wynwood. I want to welcome Dr. Yanni to the new school year. I am so excited for the energy and ideas that you bring to my school district, and I look forward to working with you and to living in the school district that you help create. I want to start by reminding the board of the ongoing priorities of the student body, our desire for climate-friendly schools and Lmsd policies. I look forward to hearing from our new superintendent and from the board moving forward regarding plans for Oakwell Forest. And I want to remind the board of the core of your students' original ideas that motivated our push for Oakwell Forest, an interest in historical preservation and conservation, and in a planet with a livable climate. But more specifically, we brought to the board last year the idea of integrating Oakwell into our curriculums, centering climate change, sustainability, and local history. As the board moves forward with its plans for the property and its admirable ability to work towards students with compromise, I want to be sure you understand just how important those pieces of our school's curriculum could be. Last winter, I spoke with Dr. McGloin and former Superintendent Mumine regarding Oakwell and regarding the wider possibilities of integrating climate change education into our curriculums. I heard that day from Dr. McGloin that the board was open to the ideas laid out by students in our Acorns proposal half a year ago, nine months ago, and the district was open to working with students to integrate sustainability into schools at lower levels than just high school AP environmental science classes that don't really sink into young children the way that we need them to. I know that you've heard me talk for hours about Oakwell Forest at this point, but my passion on this issue is just an echo of my broader dream for this district. My dream for this district is one where students' voices are uplifted to and listened to like all others. One where the input of students is taken seriously in all decisions, and our needs are prioritized over the motivations of property values and vague policies and other more complex considerations the board has to listen to. And that dream for some kind of student advisory committee, as Yanni mentioned earlier, isn't new. If you ever find yourself searching through old Marionite records, which is the student newspaper at Lower Merion High School, you'll find an article from 1974 announcing the decisions of our Student Advisory Council working with Superintendent Donald R. von Wagner. I think that's his name. It was in the 70s. This has faded out of Lower Merion in the 50 years since, but we could bring it back. Like any healthy democracy that listens to its most core constituents, we have a history of student advisory committees, of things that put our voices, my voice, first, above all others, because we are the ones at the end of the day that have to live with the consequences of these decisions. I can't express how excited it made me to hear the word Student Advisory Council earlier in this meeting. And I wrote Dr. Yanni an email earlier today with a similar sentiment to what I'm expressing right now, but I just cannot express how grateful I am that you are exploring that idea, and I look forward to working with you. Have a great night.
Thank you, Sam.
Julian Brightman, Jamie Singer, Mike Levine, Greg Gordon.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Hi, my name is Julian Brightman. I live in Marion Station. Good evening. I want to extend a warm welcome to Dr. Yanni from the many groups who want to protect Oakwell from any destruction. Dr. Yanni, we hope you enjoyed your visit you are planning to Oakwell and that it showed you what a precious resource Oakwell is in its present untouched state. I understand you also watched Noah Forer's documentary, It's More Than Just Some Trees, and hope you are aware of the many other students who have spoken at these meetings. Their slogan, I Want a Future, has opened many of their comments at this podium, and they have protested weekly in front of this building. Students have asked for Oakwell to be preserved as a place of learning where they and their community may gather for activities like STEM classes, arts in the outdoors, gardening, and contemplation. They hope the Lower Merion School Board will take action in preserving our endangered flora and fauna for the health of their precarious environmental future. The Oakwell deal was before the Wolk settlement. In light of this, imagine instead what incredible fields for sports could be created if the Lower Merion School Board spends just a part of the untold amounts projected for disrupting and then maintaining Oakwell and spending it instead on upgrades to the existing 309 acres of school and township parks. A much lower cost financially and environmentally. In 2018, I don't think anyone expected environmental disaster to increase so exponentially. We need to act accordingly. Saving Oakwell is a step in the right direction. It is neighborly that the Lower Merion School District shares its fields with the Lower Merion Little League Association, but they are a private organization collecting membership fees and supported by numerous commercial sponsors. Lower Merion School District taxpayers in general are not responsible for Little League or any other non-school district sports teams seeking regulation fields. I ask our students and community to recommit and engage Dr. Yanni and the board in meaningful dialogue that solves all our issues and protects Oakwell. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jamie Singer, Mike Levine, Greg Gordon, and Ann Foot.
Good evening, Jamie Singer, Penn Valley. I want to bring to you a different perspective than most people have on Oakwell, because you see virtually every Sunday from last fall until we no longer had access to Oakwell this spring, for groups from 20 to over 100 in every kind of weather, I had the honor to lead tours of Oakwell. And in that, I talked about the history of the property, the importance of the 50-year relationship with the Lmsb brothers, who were the preeminent landscape architects of their day, the connection Oakwell has with Stoneleigh. On our tours, we had an arborist who talked about the biodiversity, the trees, the potential threat of the environment. Now, I always preface my tours by saying I was a sports mom. Both my twins started out in Lower Merion Little League. I was a soccer mom. I was a track mom. My kid Allegra played varsity softball at Harriton all 4 years. So I do see the value of sports. And you can support sports and support Oakwell. Now, many of our visitors knew very little about Oakwell, and once we got to the main part of the property and they saw the unique greenhouse complex, the red oak that we discovered just last December is the largest in Montgomery County on Oakwell property. When they learned about the horticulture training program for young women that was started before women even gained the right to vote, I could see their astonishment that all of this is threatened with destruction. And every time we got to the end of the tour, we were standing at the tea house that is from the early 1900s. People had many emotions. Some people were confused. Some people were outraged. And many folks wanted to know how they could help. Some of them have lent their skills and efforts. Some of these people are here tonight. I often say, you can put a field anywhere, but there is only one Oakwell. So, Dr. Yanni, we look forward to collaboration and problem solving under your guidance. Thank you.
Greetings. Mike Levine of Narberth about Oakwell. Welcome, Dr. Yanni. We built a middle school for $100 million with 2 large fields and 4 tennis courts. Now the district wants to build more fields, which it says will cost $23 million, almost 1/4 of the middle school cost for auxiliary fields. People with construction knowledge who see the field plans note how low the estimate seems. Construction costs went up. Could the cost rise to 1/3 of the cost of building the school? If the polo fields agreement is signed and we need fewer new fields, the total cost could be up to $8 million for each new field. $8 million per field, which doesn't consider maintenance costs for the historic structures that should remain standing. Let's look at hidden costs. You eliminate 4 structures from the housing stock and the tax revenue therefrom in a housing shortage. As there is no new identified need for these structures, they remain empty. The mansion is 10,500 square feet. As homeowners, we know how costly maintenance is. Imagine the cost to maintain a vacant, historic 10,500 square foot structure and address deferred maintenance, and then for the other buildings. The district is not well suited. It's a school district, not a property management firm. Consider further cost risk. A huge vacant historic building with deferred maintenance next to our middle schoolers play? How much are we liable for if a child gets in and hurt? What about insurance cost hikes? We paid $610,000 for the 2010 laptop spying and returned $27 million in the recent woke settlement. What were the legal costs? There's so much we can do with the money we save on less costly and destructive options. What do the residents think of this plan? Going door to door, we found they're shocked and angry, particularly when they learn the middle school has fields on site. Some who like the benefits of more field space, hearing the environmental and taxpayer costs, know that Oakwell is not the solution. We only started door to door with our new petition and have close to 1,000 signatures, and 4 months before the next board is seated. Taxpayer education is in progress. Playing fields would turn a community asset into a school district liability. Preserve Oakwell. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Greg Gordon, Ann Foot, Holly Manzoni, and James McLaughlin.
Good evening, Mr. Yanni and school board members. My name is Greg Gorton, and I live in Narberth. I've lived in Narberth and Marion for about 35 years. I'm a retired professor at the University of Pennsylvania Medical School and also the president of the Delaware Valley Ornithological Club, which is the nation's third oldest bird club. It goes back before Audubon societies. And I was drawn into the Oakwell situation because of my role as president of the Delaware Valley Ornithological Club and concern about the bird life at Oakwell. Over the past year or so, we've been able to document more than 120 species of birds in and around Oakwell. And we have also, with assistance from students, from many experts, we have had a bio blitz done where we do an inventory of all living creatures in a given area, which revealed hundreds of species of organisms in Oakwell. And that's not, on the one hand, surprising. What's interesting is the number of habitats that Oakwell has. There was mention of wetland earlier. The stand of trees is well known to you. More than 600 trees, 114 of which are eligible for heritage status. Huge, old trees, some 200 or more years old. Trees which, by the way, attract insect life. Oaks, maples, the tremendous variety of trees, there are 76 species, draw a huge variety of insects. Why is that important? The birds feed on the insects. The bats that we have documented at Oakwell, the 6 bat species that appear to use the property, there may be more, but we know of 6. So all of this works together in a remarkable ecosystem, a phenomenal ecosystem with field, wetland, forest, shrubbery, hedges, and human structures, all of which are utilized by the diverse wildlife at Oakwell. As I learned more about it and realized the enormous value of the stand of trees in terms of carbon storage, the older a tree, the more carbon it stores. It gets bigger, grows taller. So there's a huge amount of carbon being stored there. And I think that it needs to be said.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon.
That the Lower Merion School District took a stand
Thank you very much.
and said, we need to stop destruction and support the fight against climate change. Thank you.
Ann Foot, Holly Manzoni, James McLaughlin, and Rich Thal.
Welcome, Dr. Yanni. We're so happy to have you here, and we look forward to a fresh perspective with all this controversy. Starting last fall, many members of our community were fortunate to be able to spend a lot of time learning about and exploring Oakwell as guests of its previous longtime owners who stewarded these 13 acres after Lower Merion School District assumed ownership. I am one of them. But since the end of May, no one in our community has any knowledge about the status of this place we have come to know and love, because we have no access to it, and because Lower Merion School District has shared no information with the public. Is it being cared for as if the historically significant structures and valuable ecosystems have a future? This question is all the more important because in February of this year, the Pennsylvania State Historic Preservation Office determined that every single part of Oakwell's 13 acres is eligible for the National Register of Historic Places, along with the 42 acres of Stoneleigh. And this determination is not an honorific, just an honorific, because according to Pennsylvania statutes, Title 37, property owners that receive federal funding and wish to alter either the structures on these properties or the landscape are required to consult with the Preservation Office's Environmental Review Division to determine whether the alteration would have an adverse effect. And as I hope everyone is aware, Lower Merion School District already successfully manages structures on the National Register of Historic Places, a complex comprised of Lower Merion Academy, built in 1812, Kenwood Elementary School in 1914, Bala Kenwood Junior High in 1938. We care for the historically significant structures in that beautiful complex as if they have a future, and you share them with the community as places of learning and exploration. Only a handful of other public school districts in the entire country own or manage properties on the register or eligible for the register. There are many things that distinguish Lower Merion School District, and this is one of them. What you have in Oakwell is very special for reasons I don't have time to review, but you can find them all and more on growoakwell.com. I speak for many people in saying that I hope that you have been caring for Oakwell this summer as if you actually care about it as a place worthy of a future and as if you understand the many ways that it is a valuable part of our community and of our collective future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Foote.
Good evening, I'm Holly Manzoni, Wynwood. Dr. Yanni, we're so happy to have you here. I welcome you and look forward to a long and happy and productive career here in Lower Merion. You've heard a lot about Oakwell tonight. I don't know how familiar you are with the history of Oakwell in the school district, but several years ago when the district acquired Oakwell, it seemed like a good idea at the time. They felt that they've got this new school, they want to have playing fields like the other schools do and all that, and I believe they acted in good faith. But it was a quick decision, and I'm sure you've heard about all that. I don't think they had the opportunity to really understand the environmental and cultural impacts of what destroying Oakwell could do. And I really can't imagine that anybody thought there would be such strong community support for saving Oakwell. You see that tonight. And this is representative of school board meetings for the past couple of years. The Save Oakwell people dominate the meetings. We also have been having a weekly protest on Fridays for about an hour right out front here, where we've been doing that a year and a half, and people drive by, they honk their horns. They don't all honk. A lot of them will wave or thumbs up, but there is overwhelming support evident there. And I think that given all this, it's time to rethink that decision from a few years ago. We know a lot more now. We know that there really are alternatives for using Oakwell for a couple of fields. We know that the cost is prohibitive. And I know that you, Dr. Yanni, did not create this problem, but you can solve it. You can save Oakwell. And then all of us will not have to be coming to all these meetings. We don't want to be disruptive, please save Oakwell and let us all go home. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Manzoni.
James McLaughlin, Rich Val, Ruth Jenkin, and then Kathy Kurtz.
Good evening. My name is James McLaughlin, and I live in Wynwood. Welcome, Dr. Yanni. I hope that you have a long and productive career here in Lower Merion and wish you well. With that comes some advice, of course. I advocate for taxpayers and the proper stewardship of the money that we, the taxpayers, earn and provide to you. That understanding is basic to our relationship with the school board, and with that in mind, I have a few observations. I think that serious changes should be made to the board's communications department. Much of the public disquiet about and mistrust towards the school board and the district relates to a lack of transparency and often incorrect information. The district frequently seems to be more concerned with its image than the dissemination of legally required and trusted information to taxpayers. I note that the tax settlement by the district last year reads in part that nothing in the agreement is, quote, an admission or concession by district of any fault, liability, or wrongdoing, unquote. I find it disturbing that just weeks after the settlement was announced, the district sent out tax bills with a letter wrongly stating that the increase would be 1.39%, less than half the true increase. This was an affront to taxpayers. A few weeks later, the district followed with a little postcard mailer in 7-point font that could have been mistaken for junk mail that stated that the amount of the increase was incorrectly stated. Would it not have been more gracious to say that you apologized for the mistake and inconvenience to taxpayers? Is that too much to ask? Suspicious mistakes such as this should not occur, especially when you live on the taxpayer's dime and you are beholden to us. Talking with others in the community, I'm not the only one who sees a problem with the lack of transparency in the school district. Last year, the Auditor General of the Commonwealth called the movement of money between funds in the district, quote, a shell game, unquote, and criticized the district for this very lack of transparency. Residents have complained over and over again about the lack of correct information in board meetings and noted that there is rarely substantive public discussion on many topics. Tonight, you voted on the approval of another enrollment study. Why? You had two such studies last year. Are you going to keep conducting studies until you achieve your desired result? Stop wasting taxpayer money. Finally, as for the continuing Oakwell controversy, the expenditure of more than $13 million for new superfluous athletic fields is ridiculous. Instead, the permanent preservation of Oakwell under a conservation trust represents an opportunity to conserve a vast tract of mature trees and gardens for the future undisturbed enjoyment of district residents. Anything less than that is a legacy of destruction that you will have to explain to future generations of students and taxpayers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rich Tao, and I have lived in Ballackinwood for the last 17 years. My son Ezra graduated from Lower Merion High School last year and is now in college. I come this evening to welcome you, Dr. Yanni, to Lower Merion. And I'd like to encourage you to focus on two vital topics. First, when my wife, son, and I moved here in 2006, this school district was widely regarded as one of the best, if not the best, in Pennsylvania. It was one of the main reasons we relocated here, as opposed to other communities. Today, U.S. News ranks Lower Merion High School as the 16th best in Pennsylvania and Harridan as the 22nd best. For comparison's sake, Radnor is third and Conestoga is fourth. As a parent, resident, and taxpayer, this is entirely unacceptable. And Dr. Yanni, I hope, as our superintendent, you feel the exact same way. Lower Merion has all the resources it needs to be not merely good, but the best school district in our state. What it needs is your leadership to rally our community. I encourage you to use this honeymoon period at the beginning of your tenure to share your vision with our community, to get input from our community, and most importantly, to act. Second, I ask you to please think robustly and creatively about the challenges posed by Oakwell. Let's do a quick thought experiment. Imagine tomorrow the township determined we needed more field space. Someone comes to you and says that a gorgeous historic estate with hundreds of mature trees, many more than a century old, along with ample wildlife, should be leveled to put up a couple of playing fields. Doing all of this, by the way, would cost 8 figures, not 7, but 8 figures. I hope you would tell them that their idea is divorced from reality and that they should demand, and that you demand another plan. I hope you'd say in a township this size, surely we can find somewhere else for kids to play their sports. Dr. Yanni, as a newcomer to this district, you have the ability to do something that has not yet been done. Bring a fresh set of eyes to this particular challenge. We've all seen examples of what fresh leadership can do. We witnessed one example in our new governor, who handled a crisis of a road collapse on I-95, brought all the parties together to fix the problem in 12 days. We can go back to 2002 and remember Mitt Romney saving the Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City after a scandal had erupted there. And under your leadership, Dr. Yanni, we trust that you'll find a way to rally our community, restore educational quality to this district, preserve Oakwell, and ensure our kids have a place to play their sports. Best of luck, Dr. Yanni, and welcome to Lower Merion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ruth Jenkins, Kath Kurtz, Beth Randall, and then Lawrence Gallagher.
Hello, my name is Kath Kurtz.
I'm sorry, is Ruth Jenkins here?
Pardon me?
Ruth was before you.
Ruth?
Is she here? Okay. I can't see that. Sorry.
Hello, and welcome, Dr. Yanni. It's your turn first? Okay, sorry, I didn't want to be out of order.
Hi, everybody. I brought my little buddy, Lorax, speaks for the trees. My name is Ruth Jenkins, and I live in Wynwood. Welcome, Dr. Yanni, and good luck, everybody. I don't want to say everything that everybody else has said already, but I would like to propose that the board establish a conservancy for Oakwell so that it is protected in perpetuity and is available for students and families and people of the future, not with short-sighted, let's play a ball game today, but think about generations ahead that will use this property. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins.
Hi, it's me again, Kath Kurtz. I live in Narberth, and I started coming to these meetings after a tour of Oakwell, and I've been coming ever since. And I have to say, I'm kind of glad to come to these meetings and see what the board really does and the kind of work you do for our students and for the district. It's really been fascinating to me, if at times long. Nevertheless, I want to speak about Oakwell. Especially given this summer, we cannot deny we are in the middle of climate change. This was the hottest summer on record, and I'm told it will probably be the coolest summer for the rest of my lifetime. Oakwell, to me, as Mr. Groton has said, is an oasis, an ecosystem that works. It works beautifully. There it is. The wetlands, the bats. The wetlands are really bigger than they're originally measured, by the way. This we know from being there. I would urge you really, really to do whatever is necessary to preserve it. I was a field hockey mom and a lacrosse mom at Welsh Valley years ago, so I know how important fields are for kids and their general well-being. My daughter, who played sports then and has played ever since, is now a geographer and a data analyst. She says she's a data nerd for the city of Denver, and she maps for Denver all kinds of data and information and urges me to urge you to get a really, really super duper scheduling app to figure out how our 309 fields and parks can be best utilized in a very complicated sports program in all our schools. I think that can be done. So I want to thank you for your attention and thanks for all your hard work. And I'm hoping for the best for the future, for our climate, for Oakwell, and for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Good.
Beth Randall, and then Lawrence Gallagher.
Okay, hi, I'm Beth Randall. I've lived in Narberth for over 30 years. I've put 2 daughters through the Lower Merion Public Schools. Over the years, my family has paid plenty of money in school taxes. And like a lot of people, I don't want to see my school tax money going to destroy a beautiful stand of old growth trees and a historic mansion. So I join a lot of neighbors and friends in asking everyone to work to save Oakwell. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brendel.
Hello, it's Lawrence Gallagher from Villanova. I have been a resident of the township since 1991, and I've had 2 children go through Lower Merion School District. I was here at the June meeting, and from my understanding, the township plans to spend between 20 to as much as a little over $30 million to both purchase and turn this Oakwell property into playing fields. And I also heard the estimate of about 200 students a year would be using those fields as part of the activities. There was a woman here, a taxpayer in June, and she used the word equitable, and that kind of got me thinking. You're going to plan to spend what sounds like about $100,000 to $150,000 per student for the students using these fields. And then there's going to be the yearly maintenance costs that are going to go into that. I'm just curious, what does the school district plan to do when the soccer team or someone who doesn't use the field, the debate team, the choir, the orchestra comes to you and is looking for money? Are you going to spend the same amount of money on those students as you played on or spent on these 200 students using the playing fields, and how that's going to be paid for? I am 100% in agreement with the ecologic and the historic importance of this property and what everybody here tonight has talked about. But I think everybody agrees that finances are something that have to be considered. Whether you believe in the ecologic importance or not, finances are going to be important. So I would just like to know, are you going to be equitable and spend the same amount of money on other students and other activities besides just these sports activities that use the fields? Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all of the in-person comments for tonight.
Thank you, Ms. LaPera. Mr. Roos, can you please read the comments via chat?
Yes, there are 3. First, Isabel Melvin, Winwood. Welcome, Dr. Yanni. I wish you a productive, oh no, sorry, the chat just disappeared. Go ahead. Wish you a productive and successful time here in LMSD. I know you have many exciting challenges ahead. I look forward to supporting you and the Lower Merion School Board in your efforts to educate our children. I signed the petition to preserve Oakwell. I believe the previous Lower Merion School Board did not have the foresight when the decision was made to spend $23 million plus to create playing fields at Oakwell. Let's take another look and save taxpayer dollars. Please take the destruction of Oakwell, 13 acres of over 500 mature trees, off the Lower Merion School Board table. Next, Elizabeth Porter Gladwin. Welcome to Dr. Yanni. I would like to encourage you to reevaluate the plans to raise Oakwell for construction of playing fields. Our tax money could be much better spent on supporting other important programs. Sports are important, but there are many less destructive options to fill the students' needs for fields while preserving the ecological and historical values of this venerable estate. And the final comment is from, can you scroll down? Yep. I don't want to mess it up.
Adrian Seltzer.
Yeah, Adrian Seltzer of Winwood. There is a difference between short and long-term benefits. Fields on Oakwell will give a student athlete a benefit for a couple of years while keeping Oakwell will benefit southeastern Pennsylvania, its residents, and the multitude of flora, fauna, and animals who reside there. It isn't the job of the board to have fields for little leagues.
She has this part up here.
Oh, there's two sections to that. Closing Ardmore Avenue School is indeed a historic occasion, but the racism those students endured once they were integrated needs to be also recognized. That concludes the chat comments.
Thank you, Mr. Roos. We will now. Thank you, Mr. Roos. We're going to move on to moving forward with approving our agenda. I want to ask first from the board if there's anything anyone wants to pull from the agenda. Okay. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda via consent?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Now, do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
A second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Mr. Roos, can you please give a report on the Sunshine Act?
Yes, the board met earlier tonight in executive session regarding a personnel matter and also a labor relations matter.
Thank you, Mr. Roos. Our upcoming board meeting dates, we are moving into our regular season for school. So we will be back to our regular committee meetings and full board meetings. On Monday, September 11th will be the Education Committee and Supplementary Regular Board Meeting. And on Monday, September 18th is our regular Business Board Meeting. They will both be here in the District Administration Office Boardroom at 8 p.m. Our committee meetings will be held also in the boardroom and live stream starting at 8:30 a.m. unless otherwise noted. September 7th is the Curriculum Committee meeting. Please note that that's a Thursday. We normally meet on Wednesdays, but because it's the first week of school, we're giving everyone a few days to get settled. Friday, September 8th is our next Policy Committee meeting. Thursday, September 14th is the Facilities and Purchasing Committee meeting. And then Wednesday, September 27th is our next Communications Committee meeting. That meeting will be at 7 p.m. via Zoom. I hope everyone has a great start to the school year. Again, welcome to Dr. Yanni and farewell to Mr. Mooring. And there being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.